Welcome back, everyone. I will now present EG7 and CEO Robin Flodin. Robin, please go ahead. All eyes on you.
Thank you very much. And I also want to start by welcoming everyone who's here to listen to our Q1 investor presentation. So this is the best quarter in EG7's history. Record by any means, from revenue to profits, cash on balance sheet, everything. And I can only say that I'm extremely proud of my team for the delivery that they've done, the growth that we've seen and the journey all the way here. But what makes me even more happy is, of course, that we're looking to an even brighter future, as we're seeing significant growth, both from the fact that we are consolidating our latest 2 acquisitions, are fully consolidated from the 1st of April, but also from our organic growth into Q2 and throughout the full year. We closed and made a transaction of Innova Games for 1.1 billion SEK, all 100% in shares through the quarter. And I think that this should truly show how much people in the industry believe in the journey that EG7 is doing. And I am humbled by the fact that Georgie, the biggest owner, decided to join our company with this respect. EG7 is an ecosystem for video games companies. We apply a buy and build strategy. We make money from 3 different sources. Number 1 is our IP portfolio with live and premium titles. This generates about 80% of the revenue. And 80% of the revenue in this is also recurring revenue. This makes us quite a unique beast in the video games industry, as many companies are very much dependent on releases, while we actually make most of the money you see from our reported numbers through things that are recurring day to day, month to month. But then we, of course, also have our games that are coming out that gives an upside potential for investors. Now with Innova, we've also added a platform that perfectly fits together with the live games that we have, that will further increase the revenue into these games and the profits, improving profit margins, and also giving us the ability to cross-promote the games in a better way. And number 3, last but not least, our world-class service segment, where we, for example, with our marketing division, does the main marketing for Call of Duty, Dark Souls, and many of the games gamers love around the world. And we think that this is a key strategy that we applied very early and has shown to be extremely effective, both for the fact that companies want to come and join EG7, because we have this service segment, because we can give something more than just cash, and are willing to take less cash, more shares, and actually join us on the upside. 2015, we were a small consultancy firm. 2017, we did 11 million SEK in revenue, and we listed the company with a vision and an idea of how to change the video games industry, with an ecosystem, with how we can add, buy and build, and put together companies to create a bigger and greater whole. From that time to today, over the last 3 years, we have been the fastest growing video game company on the stock market with over 300% CAGR. And once again, I really want to say thank you to the team for this amazing and impressive journey that you've helped all of us do. So let's look at the actual numbers. So if we go back to quarter one now, from last year to today, we see over 100% increase in revenue. But even more impressive, the 500% increase in profit, EBITDA. We always thought that one of the most important parts of this journey that we took on when we started acquiring companies was to control the value chain. Innova is the latest example of how we've applied this strategy, where we now have access directly to the community and the consumers, from the development of a product, from ownership of IP, or even direct connection with the licensing, all the way through the process to the consumer. And you are going to see that this will increase our revenues and our margins. We have some great IP, and I think that this is something quite unique to our company, where live games that have, some of them, been around for 22 years, like EverQuest, and still generating a significant amount of profit, and still have active fans following it, has been one of the things that we always love to see, and it's been a dream come true that we were able to add this into the company of EG7. And that's not only the IP that we have for ourselves, but also things like Lord of the Ring or DC Online with Batman and Superman. And these are games that have generated revenue and had fans excited for as long as 13 years with DC Online, and it's still growing, and we're still having some of its best months. From these games, with this strong IP, we have 50% of the company's revenue on a pro forma basis, creating an extremely strong backbone. And why this is very important is because video games, when you develop new titles, maybe it's new IP or just a new game, can take quite a while, and I think all investors know this. But having this backbone, this profitability, gives us the ability to be strong, invest in the right way, and be successful in this market space, both through the IP we own, lowering the risk of further development, but also for the fact that even if a game would fail, we would still be profitable, we would still make money through these games. For our latest acquisition on a pro forma basis, we would do 16% of the revenue from Innova's 4-game platform. And this is also long-term fans. The average user has played for over 5 years. Very different from the mobile sector, for example, where users are very fluctuating. We don't have to spend a huge amount of marketing to sustain these users. These users are in it to stay with their friends, to play these games, and we think that that's extremely important. 22% of our revenue will come from our service segment. And like I said, this is an extremely important part to our strategy. But I do want to say, because this is something a lot of investors always ask me, do you think that this will be a massive grower in the company's revenue on a percentage basis compared to the other side? And I say no. I always said from the beginning, when this was the largest part of our business, I think games will outclass and outgrow this quite fast. But it's extremely important to the ability to deliver better in our games segment. And much like we said, we have now most of our revenue in the game segment, and I think you will see this continuing, even if we add more acquisitions in the service segment. EG7 is a global company and set out to be, even though it started in Stockholm and have our headquarters here where we came from. We believe that video games are global, and that being global means that you have to also understand the areas that you are operating in, growing our business on a global scale, and you should expect us to do this more and more. But also, of course, global in the sense that our consumers, the gamers, the people that is extremely key to our business, are all around the world. When we said EG7, 7 stands for the continents. And you might ask yourself, do you really have gamers on all continents? And that's actually true. We even have gamers on Antarctica. We believe that aligned incentives is a key part of our future growth strategy, making sure that all the people running these businesses really truly want to be engaged in what we do. That's why we always have a big share part in all of our M&A. And you can see today that management and board represent 51% of the share. That's something we're very proud of. So then you say, what are your future growth plans? But of course, that's one of the most important parts. Number one, which is the low-hanging fruit, is putting our games on the 4-game platform. This will generate extra revenue as the games spread out in a different way, and we have lower margin costs that goes to someone else's platform. Then it's expanding geographically, both the games that we have live right now and the 4-game platform. And then, of course, expanding the game, improving the games for the consumers playing today, and adding new titles into the platform and into the other platforms that are available. And last, but definitely not least, we will continue our very active and successful M&A agenda. The 4-game platform is a great hub of games. In the CIS and Europe territories, Innova is today operating 13 different MMOs. And we believe, and we know because of the data, that there's a great revenue uplift for every game launched on the platform to the other games. So by putting all of our games there, not only are we able to, for the first time, launch this globally, but we're also seeing that every marketing dollar we spend for new games, like Evil versus Evil, will also go into generating extra value for the other games. And then you might say, so why haven't 4Game as a digital platform been global so far? And this is because the licenses has been the biggest issue for them, the IP. They have had certain region that they are able to be in, Europe and CIS. But now we own the IP and content that we can put on the platform. We can now change this and go fully global. Then we're going to expand the games that are currently there with greater updates and more things, because it's quite secure that you get your capex back at quite high margins to consumers that are there every day playing these games, and the only thing that they want is more and better. And then a small part of new investment, but very important, where one of the things that we're currently working on is an unannounced AAA MMO with one of the largest IPs in the world. With our M&A agenda, we will continue in the way that we have applied it in the past. We're running extremely fast, and we have more companies that want to talk to us than ever for the success that we've seen. But we're very selective, and we're not in a hurry, and this is something we keep stressing. If you go back to our history, we've done 8 transactions in the last 3 years. That's 2 to 3 transactions a year. And we think that that's an okay pace. We might do more, but for us, the most important thing is that these things actually fit into our strategy and that we're not just taking every company that comes along. And therefore, you should expect us to find more, grow further throughout the year, but with the right type of transactions that really integrate into our platform and to the things that we do. So why should you invest in EG7? I think if you believe in the future of video games, which I do, that there's a great value for investors to be exposed to this segment. And maybe you're already invested in other game companies, but you want to have a diversification into something that has extremely stable revenue, strong IP, an M&A agenda that creates growth, and a strategy that's a little bit different from the competitors. Or maybe you believe that our strategy is what's going to create that which we've proven in the last 3 years to be the strongest growth in the gaming market. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Robin. A very impressive development, of course. Great presentation. I would like to pick up the thread about what I really liked, one of many things, but still, your strategy to control the whole value chain. Could you give us a bit more flavor on how you see that developing, perhaps even adding some, concrete numbers to what that might do for your margins?
I mean, it's a clear margin difference if you look at Steam, for example, or let's not say Steam specifically, but these kind of platforms, Apple and so on, it's quite known that they take up to 30%, right, of the sales. And we have less than 5% that's taken from the consumer. So clearly there, that makes a huge difference. But it's also the ability for us, let's say that you launch a game on Steam, you don't know what they're going to do with the consumer, right? They might market another game, but we can choose, this is the game we want to present to the gamer today. When they log into our platform, we have millions of users and eyes on that platform. Where do they go? Oh, we have this latest game that we're launching. Let's push that to the consumer today. So I think that, and that's quite clear that has a huge value. But it's also in things like the currency. There's a global currency in the platform. So rather than us having the consumer spend into every single game, we have them spending on a sort of global scale, and then maybe they have some coins over, and they want to spend it in another game, and this brings them into a new game. So, and we know from the data that it has quite a significant revenue uplift to have several games on the platform, and that also means for every game that we add of our own games, we can add it to this. It's also the fact that the kind of games that we do, most of them free-to-play games on the sort of PC platform, don't do well on a platform like for example, Steam, which we love in many other respects if you're doing a premium title, because you can't track the users. There are many features that gives you unable to actually do it in a good way. And that's why most free-to-play games have their own launchers, but very few of them actually have managed to have a platform that we have been able to acquire.
Great. And that 5%, does that cover your expenses cost for maintaining and developing the platform, or how does that look?
So that's really covered by the fact that we also have other people that tie into it. So we have a good margin, a 40% margin on the business that's just from the outside.
Oh.
And that's also still maintaining the platform and then developing it.
Okay, great. I also really like the part where you want to be selective with acquisition. I think that's really important, to just go for the companies that make sense from a strategic point of view and keeping it kind of strict. But acquiring is one thing, and then successful integration, what would you say are the most important factors for that?
I mean, one of the factors is also taking it in the pace where you're able to actually integrate the companies. I think it's all depending on what your strategy is. You can have a sort of, buy everything strategy and let them sort of run through the balance sheet. But we are quite active in our acquisitions. We work very hard with having the different entrepreneurs work together, understand the strategy. And this sort of puts the pace, but it creates a different kind of upside potential. And that's what we like it. We would see it ourselves. We're not activists, but we're definitely very active. I think I would see it sort of at the portfolio manager. Are you buying an ETF, or are you buying a portfolio manager that's very successful at being a portfolio manager? If you want to put it in sort of financial terms. And I would say that we are sort of an active portfolio manager that has a few different companies that we think fit very well together and work very hard on making them fit well together and do better.
Perfect, thank you. And the final question then, looking forward, if you dare to kind of give us an idea of where you expect your profit growth to come from, will it be organic, will it be M&A? Of course it will be both, but do you have any idea at this point what these relations will look like?
I think it's quite clear that we're going to be, when all of these things come together, we're going to be the one that, in my opinion, of consolidators that do the best on margin through organic growth, through these initiatives. But we're still going to keep buying very successful companies that are growing. But these synergies are creating improved margins through these businesses that already exist over time.
Okay, that was the last question. Thank you very much, Robin, and good luck on your continued growth journey.
Thank you very much.